Miss. Here we go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our council workshop session this morning, here to discuss our fiscal year 2026 proposed budget. The Sky Valley Council workshops are designed to allow the council to come together to discuss presented issues such as our budget. As this is a workshop, no action will be taken. We use the workshops for the council to ask questions and to make comments or suggestions about the budget proposal that we're going to hear the presentation today. We ask the workshop members, we thank you all for coming to listen to Mr. Streetman's presentation and to the council's questions, suggestions, and comments, and then review the presented budget at their leisure and attend one of our 3 budget hearings that we will have and we've already scheduled. As per state law, we scheduled 3 public hearings for the community to attend and ask questions and give comments about our proposed budget. The meetings have been scheduled for November 10th at 10 o'clock, and then we have an evening hearing, which is also by state law, at 6 o'clock on that same day. Our 3rd hearing is on Tuesday, the 18th at 9 o'clock in the morning, which will be followed by our regular council meeting at 10, when we will vote to adopt a proposed budget. All the hearings and council meetings will be offered on Zoom and also recorded. As per our charter and state law, our city manager has designed a proposed budget for 2026 where expenditures and revenues are the same. So with that, we will go to our agenda, and we need to adopt the agenda as presented. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Dan. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Tony. Any discussion? All in favor of this motion, signify with aye.
Aye.
All right, the motion carries as it's unanimous. Our next item on our agenda is to discuss proposed fiscal year 2026 budget and millage rate for the general fund. Mr. Streetman, first of all, I want to thank you for all the hard work that you put into coming up and creating this budget. I know it was a lot of work, and we understand how much time you spent, and we're glad that you're here to do a presentation. Would you begin with your talking points for our proposed budget at this time in regards to the millage rate and the general fund?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Council, everybody attended. Can you go ahead, Summer, and start this top one? Just as I do every year, for the past couple of years, usually when we start talking about the upcoming fiscal year, I like to kind of talk about where we are at now with our current year, kind of just set the tone. Next slide, please. So for this year's budget, of course, we're getting close to the end of that. As you all know, we run a calendar fiscal year. We're around 90%. For this year is $1,533,910. That's what was adopted this year. Next slide. So if you look at it, budget versus actual, when you actually look at what we have spent so far of that budget, of course, this changes every day because money's constantly coming in, going out. But for the snapshot, when I did this a day or 2 ago, $1,273,028 is how much we've spent. Breaking that down, general government about 384,000. Public safety, 581, roads, 201, code, and then everything else about $106,000. Next slide. Now, on the revenue side, we've taken in $1,489,340. Again, property tax, $1,027,000, permits about $211,000. Court fines, not quite 32, interest revenue, 28,000, grants, 105. Miscellaneous, that's selling, I think we sold a vehicle, things like that. That's typically how that comes in. Hotel, motel, we're at $68,000. So we're actually doing pretty good. Next slide. Now this slide here is kind of, I call it a snapshot. As you can see, there's a lot of things here. Anyway, as you look at the general fund, the first line is the budget, 1,533,19. And then, of course, then the next line is the expenditures, which showed it was balanced. And then the actual, we take it right at not quite 1.5 million. We spent a little less than 1.3. And we're estimating that we're probably gonna end up somewhere about 1,520,000 for the year. Most of our big ticket revenues that come in, but there's always permit, short-term rental license, permit fees, and then there's court fines, interest, things like that. So, but on the flip side of that, we're thinking we're probably gonna finish up somewhere about $1,490,000. And I want to credit the police department, public works, and city hall. We've really made an extraordinary effort to try to really watch the dollars. So even though we may underperform a little bit on the revenue side, I think we're going to be fine on the expenditure side. End result, we're hoping to see around 30,000 to the good. Obviously, being that the general fund, the state law requires it to be balanced, you never really intend to make money, but anytime you can, that's a good thing. So, of course, the water fund, we'll talk about in a few minutes, but as you can see, we've had some unanticipated expenditures. We've had to do a lot of upgrades. We need to go into details of that. We've had to buy some equipment, some necessary things, pumps and the flow valves and some other things, but, on the trash side, I think we're probably gonna wind up making about $5,000. We'll talk about that later, but anyway, that's kind of just an overview of where we're at in 2025 and where I think we'll finish up. Okay, this is the 5-year tax levy that we use, and I'm in the way. And as you can see that going back to 2020, the net digest is almost doubled. It's gone from 59 million in 2020 to this year. After you take when you take your gross digest, and you take the exemptions. Scott Valley's kind of a unique thing. The homestead, everybody gets a flat $25,000. We have 111 homesteads in the city. That's where that 2,775,000. So you take that off the top, gives you a net digest of 116,519,228. Divide that by 1,000, a meal will be $116,519.23. So multiply that by 9.609. We're looking to do the same millage rate this year as for next year. It comes out to $1,119,633, or an increase of $93,797. So next slide.
Jason,
Yes, sir.
would you just explain to everybody's benefit online and everything what the net digest is? I think that's it.
The net digest, well, the appraisal office, of course, obviously the tax commissioner sends us what's called a consolidation report every year. And basically that's the value of all the properties at 40%. And it came out to the 119,224,608. There's about 70,000 in motor vehicles that adds to it. And then that comes to a gross digest of 119,294,228. So that is the value of all real personal property.
So what that's representing, back to that, on the flip side, is that property values went up.
Yeah, they with the reassessment, the values did go up. In fact, right at $10 million, 106 million, this 160 million is correct. This form right here, and if I'm going too fast, let me know, but I know sometimes I can get on a roll. But this is the state form. It's called the PT32 form, and you calculate, and this gives you what would be the rollback rate. So the rollback rate would actually be 9.012, but by holding the proposed millage rate 9.609, it would generate a 6.62% tax increase. This is the form that the state requires us to use when determining a tax increase.
So the rollback rate is designed to mitigate property value increase. In other words, even though the property values went up, the rollback rate would say we would only collect the same amount of money next year that we collected this year in property tax.
It basically takes that net increase and it calculates what the millage rate would be to be the same amount correct.
So in our conversation of setting whether we're gonna adopt the rollback rate or leave the millage rate where it is really based on what the budget should be, or is, based on some of the escalating costs, like
Yes.
inflation, et
Yes,
cetera, et cetera.
exactly. So
That's important to note. So from a millage rate standpoint, we're not, in your budget, you're not recommending that we increase the millage rate.
No, sir.
Well, what will happen because if we hold it and property values went up, that's resulting in 6% more dollars out of everybody's pocket in taxes.
Oh, yes, sir. That's correct. Okay, what's your hand?
What pointers?
Oh,
Laser block.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, you bringing me a hand grenade or something?
The reason I'm going through this is, though you understand, it,
Yes.
I understand it, but it can be very confusing.
It can be, and there's a lot of moving parts to this, and yeah, thank you for elaborating that. And so, yeah, so essentially, because of the reassessment, the increase in values, we have to plug these numbers in, the state required form, the 9.012 would be the rollback rate to create or generate the same amount of property tax for next year that would be for this year. Questions or anything? Okay. All right, let's see, next slide, this maybe come to this. All right. So this kind of an overview of where some of the increases, like I said, is gonna be about like $94,000. Some of that's going towards roads, obviously well, I want to begin by saying we've got great staff. We've got wonderful staff. Even in times when cities and counties and organizations are looking to find people, this council has been very committed to trying to make sure that salaries are competitive. And of course, the past few years, we've done the 5% COLA. A lot of it's been wiped out with inflation. But anyway, again, that's proposed in this year's balanced budget. Some of that will be COLA for road department, workers' comp, property casualty. $10,000 increase. We talked about that last year, that it's going up. Obviously, we've had some workers' comp claims, insurance is going up. Just look at your personal finances, you look at your rates, et cetera. We have to take that into consideration. The Sky Valley Scuba Mountain Volunteer Fire and Rescue, historically, they've got 1.5 mils of the net digest. This year, I think it's 160,000. They would be, if the council approves the budget, it'd be 174. And some changes, that's an increase of 14,000.
And that's still 1.5.
Yes, sir, that'd be it. The police department budget would go about 68,000, about 16,000, that's COLA. And then admin city hall, there's a COLA increase there, 10,000 with all the employees we have here. The building inspection, right now, Mr. Potter works 32 hours a week. We have found that with the amount of inspections and development things going, just natural organic growth we're seeing, there's a lot of weeks he's working 40 hours. And so we talked about it. And to basically add 8 hours a week times 52 weeks, there's an increase there because of the code aspect there. So, and there's also money put in his vehicle, even though it runs good. We know there's some things we're going to do to it next year. So anyway, and then mayor council election, obviously we increased the budget for training with new council members coming in, new mayor. There'll be some training that they'll have to go to see who funds that. So that's where essentially, if you tally that up, that's actually gonna be over 93,000. But as you can see, the road department has gone down about 14,000. Thank goodness the T-Splosh has passed. And I'll talk about that in a minute also. So anyway, there's kind of an overview of where that increase is going right there. And then if you don't have any questions, we'll go to the next slide. Well, that looks
I have some questions on the revenue.
okay.
You gonna look at the revenue? Do you have that on a slide?
I'm gonna get to the actual budget.
Yes.
Yes.
All right,
I know this is kind of hard to see right now, anybody can zoom in, but basically, you kind of pan left.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Anyway, this is online, if anybody wants it, but basically, this is just a comparison of numbers. As you see, there's an increase of 93,797. A proposed increase in other revenue sources. All of the revenues, 103,724 extra we're anticipating. And then this is a breakdown of where all that is going, right there with the increases. And if you were to scroll down some, it should it should total 103, maybe a little more, yeah, 724. And then the very line, this green one right here, you can scroll, this is the percentage of each department's budget. No, I mean, that's the change, I'm go the other very, scroll, yeah, no, go one more over. One more to that way. Yeah, the blue one right here, so, 68% of the revenue is property tax, that's kind of, I'm glad to say that's kind of gone down, going back to 2020 at one time. About, it made up about 71, 72%, so we've actually been able to kind of diversify some of our revenue sources. But right now, we're actually below 70%, and then 31, not quite 32% is of the other source we'll talk about. 100%, and then of course, each department, this would be the council, this would be the mayor, this would be elections, this is city hall, building and grounds, can you go up a little bit more? This would be, judicial, this is police, 36%, this is fire, right at 11%, roads, 14%, cultural, 1.8, right at 2, housing development's a little over 5, and then not quite 1% is economic development. Of course, it totals out to 100%. So what we've kind of consistently seen year over year, police hovers around a third to a little bit over a third, but obviously the commitment to public safety, as you all know, we run 24/7 police. Clayton is the only community that does that. So, yeah, anyway. So there's an overview there. There's a lot of data there, but I think that maybe is that the last slide for this PowerPoint?
There's one more, but it's just.
Okay.
questions.
So if you don't have any questions so far, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the budget. Okay, you pull up that PowerPoint. I did this as a PowerPoint because every time I would try to convert budget to the slides, it blurred it out. Anyway, you should be able to see it.
While you're doing that, I just want everybody to know that this presentation will be posted on our
Yeah, it
website.
is being recorded right now, and we'll get it. Sharon's off today, but she does have her laptop, she should be able to. If not,
I'm trying.
I want to say that, as you all know, Sharon normally does this summer, stepped up, this is her first time doing this, so she was nervous, but anyway, well,
Well, it's okay. Take your time, son. It's all right.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, that's where it was.
I mentioned, I forgot to mention that, Councilman Curtis just had knee surgery, so that's why he's not here. Sure, he'll be here for the hearings. He will come in on his crutches or
That happened
whatever.
yesterday.
did it freeze up?
Yes, it did. Lucky me.
If she can't get it up, you all should, I know this is not a public hearing, we'll obviously have to fix by public hearing, but if we do, you all should have a copy, of course, the budget's online too. if you'd like
Yeah.
to See it. Oh, yeah. Hopefully we'll be here. I have a copy, I'll have a copy.
Covers about shut.
That is one of the things that we've been trying to get the bugs worked out, that thing does freeze up sometimes. That's why I'm waiting, I guess everybody's seen the weather for Monday.
Mm-hmm.
The high is what, 28 or something like that?
There'll be some snow flurries. Somebody's gonna be in accumulation, but we're definitely gonna get a taste of winter.
That's why these are open. There you are.
You got the touch, son.
It's a
All
lot.
right, there you go, son.
you will scroll, you'll scroll up to the very top. Actually, go down. Anyway, you've seen this, this is obviously what you just saw, it's the 5-year tax levy. I think the next slide is the PT 32 form, you know, just again, just to reiterate that. If you'll just scroll through it again. And then we should begin the budget for. Yeah, honestly. So here we go, just as we've done in previous years, the turquoise color, that is the current budget. 9.609, a meal is $106,758 generated. Anticipated 121,025,000. The grade is as of, I updated this the other day. That is what we've taken in, you know, as of when I did this. Actually, we've taken a bit more. Sometimes that has to do with timing, with the way the tax bills and stuff go in. And as you run some of these run rates, you'll see that, for example, the next line on some of this stuff, it kind of comes in late in the year. And it doesn't always come in even, so if you trend some of that stuff out, that always makes sense, but anyway, typically as we finish out, but, most of these line items, they're pretty consistent, what we look at, we try not to over, estimate, but, these are our funding sources, as you see, we've got the, property tax, which is our biggest thing, 68%, motor vehicles, the intangibles, that's like the tax when you do reporting. Yes, sir.
So, you know, when I take the trend, the run rate through this date and trend it out for the 12 months, the run rate shows $16,802, and that's an estimate.
Yeah.
You know, and that doesn't include any timing or delays of stuff coming in. You've got 21,500 here. So are you anticipating
Yeah, I mean,
more than the average to come in the last couple of months? Last 3 months?
as I look previous years, it has, I mean, I don't know if it will be that, but, I mean, but again, it's a lot of times on these line items, I trended out over the past few years. If you notice, the budget's dynamic, I mean, I try to be as conservative as I can with the numbers. We may come in a little low, but,
So,
that's why I reduced it down also by $500, but.
so I'm just using one rate,
Yeah.
but you're looking at historical.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, again, it's,
The same thing on insurance premium. You know, it's 48,000, the proposed budget's 52.
and we took in 52.8. So again, I try to be as conservative as I can. And we usually get that money in October. That's when those late come in things and,
And the average here is only through the 9th of October.
Yeah,
right? So,
that's
okay, so, and then short-term rentals, the run rate 13.6.
Yeah.
about 18.
so, well, the thing, as you all recall, that was passed in like September, or October of 2 years ago.
You go about the 8%?
The short-term rental,
Short-term
$300 license.
Oh, the license, okay.
We had a lot of people get their license November, December.
Yeah.
Which means they're coming up for renewal in November, December, so,
Okay.
we do anticipate a lot of that coming in. And we will be putting out a reminder notice so, you know, again, that's why you see that,
And this is a minor one, court fines, the run rate's 34,722. You budget proposing 32,000. Any reason for that?
you need to go,
You're going down from what we actually did this year. It's only a couple grand. Not too much money.
well, you know, and Chief Thomas is here, but, as you look at the numbers. Where's one? Okay, there it is, okay. Court fines, yeah.
fines.
We're, as you all know, early in the year, we had a change in chiefs. We had some lag time there. I want to emphasize that we're not a speed trap city, but we do write tickets for safety and Chief Thomas can speak further on that. But, originally early in the year, the revenues were down on the ticket side. That's really upticked,
Well, you know.
and so, I mean, but yeah, I mean, historically, it's been in the low forties. And I know that they've really been, if you just look at the speeders going down, they've been really aggressive going after the speeders, but so, yeah.
You know, it's not a lot of money, I'm just
Yeah.
drawing attention that Mike just need to go back and take a second look at some of those things based on where we're at, what the run rate is, and, you know, maybe some of it needs to be tweaked, maybe not.
Well, one thing I do want to stress is that, as you all know, that, fortunately, the city's not in a position where we have to depend on court fines to fund the police like some of the others do. Yeah, we'll definitely look at that, which is a great purpose of this.
Yeah, all the rest of those revenue sources are consistent, so.
We underperformed a little bit, this year on the hotel motel. As we get into the holiday season, that's something we typically see a pretty strong uptick, November, December with the holidays. I feel like, of course, you know, the way that works is we take all of the revenue from January 1 to December 31st, and then once we tabulate that out, usually around March of every year, we wind up cutting the check. So much of that goes to the general fund, so much of that goes to the economic development side. So that is the 1,637,634 is our revenue sources. If we don't have any questions, we'll jump into the expenditure side here. We're just gonna scroll down. Legislative, that is the council. We've had a extra money for training, travel, there will be some.
So the travel and the training dollars are in there.
Yes.
The new council's got
Yeah,
travel,
there's some-
happens, and get their training.
So we've had a little money there, obviously, we haven't been using that this year in general supplies, materials. And, so the next slide is, the executive is the mayor. Not quite $500, a little extra money for travel, training, supplies, pretty much double those three things. Again, because there'll be some training that she'll have to go to. The next slide is elections, you know, last couple of years we hadn't had any, we have this year. We do anticipate we'll probably have election next year, we have to fund them. They run anywhere between, you know, they bill us, the county bills us for that, but.
That's what we pay the county.
Yeah, so, anyway, we'll get a bill from them for this, but anywhere between $5,000 to probably $7,000 is what that typically runs. The next line of administration, COLAs, 5%, health insurance.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The admin line you're talking about, you know, looking at the runway again, 228,831. Yeah, 210,054 in the budget. That's an increase of 8.9%.
The reason for that is, as you all know, that we have had, off and on, it's a hard position to fill, but we have had a part-time financial analyst that helps us with budget time, audit time, et cetera. We had a little bit of money there for that. In the event we find somebody, sometimes it's like trying to find a unicorn or a white buffalo. To do that, but there's money there, it doesn't get used.
In the past, we used intern, right? Some of that.
Sort of.
Sort of.
Sort of, kind of, yes, but we have had, we typically budget 10 hours a week on average, something like that. Some weeks, you know, some months they may work 40 hours, some months they may work 5, it just depends. It's finding that person. The last person that we had did a great job for us, they had some health issues and they couldn't go in, but there's the reason for that, but, we factored in that, health insurance, as you all know, the city pays a flat $700 a month reimbursement per employee. That's been on the books now for years, several councils ago. Even though, and that's a refundable amount up to $700. If somebody's $800, they get $700 of it. If their insurance is $300, we reimburse them up to that amount. They don't get the full $700. But we still have to budget $700 full amount. And so That, so you calculate the employees, that's what that comes in. FICA, that's a certain percentage of, your salaries, same, Medicare. Retirement contributions, that usually runs anywhere from about 15,000 to 17,000, they'll probably finish up around 15 for the year.
So those are all basic
Yes, these are
percentages
These
of
are
the
basic
actual
things
payroll.
you've got to find every year. And for the most part, they're fairly static. There's little dynamics here and there. Workers' comp, we talked about that, that's steadily going up. Anticipated that. But
Hey, Jason, a workers' comp, are we required to buy that from anybody in particular, or is that just an open market purchase?
we typically get it through, I wish Karen was here, but she typically handles that, but it's through, it's GERMA, it's the Georgia Insurance Risk Management Association. They manage that through, there's a third party that they use that, to handle things, but yeah, Karen can get money, give more specifics
Have
about
we
it.
shopped it?
We haven't past couple of years, but typically GERMA, they're designed specifically for local government, and they typically
It's
give us.
probably something that goes through a company like Chubb.
Yeah, but I mean, but that is something, certainly,
Special
that's something we
packages
can
for
certainly,
Yeah.
we can certainly look at that, but, as we, but as of right now, GERMA's who we've used, they've been a great, vendor partner for us, we've had some claims, we've had some things, they pay well, and they pay
It's not a
time.
huge expense, and I just, I didn't know if we were required.
Well, as we get into some other departments, we get significantly more, but obviously
Oh, yeah.
on the city hall side, we're typically kind of desk bound, it's not, the risk is not as much there, so our police and other guys.
Right.
Professional services, that's gonna be an auditor, city attorney. Technical services, that's our various accounting softwares, IT, those type of things that we have some, contracted IT support. Repairs, maintenance, incidentals, rentals, that fancy copier, printer, all in one we have a lease on that, that's what that, I think that's, I think it's $300-something a month, so that's where that comes into play. Insurance of the employees, that's your property casualty, things like that, communications, that's, internet, phones, cell phones, advertising, travel, like right now Karen's at a conference doing training, so there's money budget there. Other purchases, the 12,000, that's the Granicus that we use for the short-term rental, that's how we help to manage that. Supplies, materials, 5,000, 500 gas, then we got the little Honda out there, we use it. Small equipment, other supplies, that could be anything from having to buy a PC monitor to, if a cell phone, something breaks, kind of incidental kind of things like that. The budget has shown to go up, 385, 399. And, as of right now, we spent about 315,000, so, but any questions about that, we'll jump into buildings and grounds. Again, if I go too fast, let me know, I'll slow down. Technical services, again, that's, some of our, that's some, the cameras, security cameras, things like that we have, that's what that goes to. We have cameras here, we have cameras at the post office, cameras at the compactor, et cetera. And then cameras at, I think, police and public works. So typically, that's what that goes to. Cleaning services, we contract out. The lady who does it, she's actually here now, does a great job for us. She cleans, city hall, police station,
In the bathroom.
the bathrooms at the pickleball court. Yeah, she does that, bi-weekly. Landscaping by others, we use, we have a contract with Mark Wanamaker. He does the landscaping here, City Hall, the entrance, the pickleball, all of those places, the post office, et cetera. Typically it runs around 20,000 a year. Repair and maintenance, obviously, when you're talking about buildings, that's everything from this building to, the post office building to the pavilion, et cetera, so we cover all those. And then, if we have to have somebody come in and repair and maintenance buildings, something breaks, we have to put HVAC or something, we put 5,000 in, it's a fairly new system. And then insurance, that's our property and casualty for the buildings that we have. Supplies and materials, that's everything from toilet paper to whatever that goes into it. Electricity, that's just that, it's electricity for the buildings, we have, the electricity at the pavilions, we have it at the post office, et cetera. Propane, small equipment, but it all totals up to about $84,000, a little bit less than the current year. We dropped that down a couple $1,000, so, anyway, most of that is just stuff you gotta fund, pretty straightforward. Judicial, we have a municipal judge, it comes every month, $250 a month, 12 months, $3,000, and then of course we pay, we did cover, some communications, things like that, if, we need to send out notices, bench warrants, those kind of things, so there are some minor costs associated with that. That dropped down $40, but anyway, that's pretty consistent year over year. Again, like I said, we have a municipal judge. Now we'll get into the police side here, and I'll do an overview, give it a quick, anything I can answer. I'll have to help out, but as stated, we do have an additional officer that was hired this year. Again, we run 24/7 police, and beyond Blake, we're the only community in the county that does that. And with that commitment to public safety, finding good officers, finding somebody, so that equates with that as well as COLA, so that's what that increase is. One of the things that we've done now that we have the extra officer, of course, it doesn't move the needle a whole lot, but we have been able to reduce down some of our temporary as well as overtime. That's something I will commend Chief Thomas for. I know in previous years, we would budget 20,000, we spent 25. So, but
You're basically, looks like it's gonna go down about $6,000.
So,
From the run rate.
but having additional staffing, that does help. I know he's done some changes to the schedules, things like that, and of course, improving efficiencies. So, there's always gonna be overtime, events happen, we have our the Fall Fest, Independence Day, we have extra police, we have weather-related matters, things happen, we have to have, but anyway. Again, health insurance, FICA, Medicare, those are all basically set.
Health insurance is a big number.
It is, well, you got,
Why is that going up so much?
well, an extra employee, and then, it's, we got 6 employees, chief, so there's, $8,400 a year times 7. So that's 58,800, and then the way we do, Summer's position as deputy clerk, a fourth of her health insurance is paid for by police because a fourth of her salary is paid for by police, a fourth of her salary is paid through City Hall because her position does taxes, she does all the tickets, fines. A fourth of her salary is paid for by water because she does the water billing. A fourth of her salary is paid for by trash. On the side note, Jerry, for example, his salary, a third is roads, third water, third trash, so. So that encompasses 6 employees plus a fourth of Summers, deputy clerk, insurance. Again, we have to fund the full amount. That's one of those line items that as we get later in the year, if we find we need to move a little money around, usually that's only because, again, not everybody's insurance is $700 a month, but we still have to fund that because if the situation arises, anyway. I don't want to be kept to death. Workers' comp, that is steadily going up. We're anticipating probably about 37,500. As you know, policing can be a dangerous profession. And we've had a few workers' comp claims on the police side. We had a former employee that had about 4 or 5 that are still active claims, even though he's no longer here. So those are contributing factors, you know, they adjust their premiums, they look at the claims, as you all know. Professional services, technical services, again, that's, software, there's certain things that they use, repair and maintenance, that they have their own building down there. You know, there's things that come up, insurance other than employees, that's the property casualty insurance, a little bit errors and emissions insurance. That's where that is going up, we're thinking 26,000. Communication, that's again, that's phone, cell phones, all the officers have cell phones, they have the hotspots for their computers, travel, dues and fees, education and training, that's something that we've, I think, Chief, you have a training officer now. So we've been able to kind of reduce some of that down. In the past, we really didn't have a training budget at all. So again, not to toot your horn, but to commend you for doing these things to try to save money, but we have parked some money there that if they need to go to, there are some cheap training and some mandated training they have to do. Supplies and materials, 7,500, they've gone a lot this year, but they've had to buy. But historically, over the years, it's been around $7,000, $8,000. And usually that's what I do. When you see these inconsistencies, as I trend it out, you think, well, why are you doing this or that? We know that there's always the unknown that throws things with a loop, but usually I try to look year over year. If I go back 4 or 5 years, you can kind of get a baseline of what you're going to be spending. So that's why I say $7,500, even though we've already spent $9,400. Historically, they've been spending around $7,000 a year. So if they go over again, we can typically move monies around if we need to. Gas, it looks like it's going to be staying around $3 a gallon. I don't know if that's going to go down anytime soon. Extra officer, we have 6 vehicles now. Patrol. I don't know how many miles y'all do a shift, Chief, on average?
Average 80 to 100.
So, you know, it's just simple math. You know, most of these vehicles have V8s, they got turbo V6s, you know, obviously with vehicles and you know, they're not gas sitting. So anyway, that's the increase in gas, small equipment. There's always a laptop or something that seems to go out, a radar, things like that. So that's what that goes in. As you see, that the biggest increase would be everybody's largely that is the COLA and the extra employee. The 13,900 that you see there, that's a capital lease that we do. We have that through Magnolia. That's a one time a year, as you all recall, when we bought the police chief's vehicle. We did a 5-year cap. What we that was a lease, we will own that asset at the end of the year. The reason that it's up this year, the 30,394, just to let you all know, we had one of our police vehicles die on us. We actually sold, I think, $5,000 for it, the engine. Chief was able to find a nice used Explorer with the Interceptor package. We had to buy it. It was under $15,000, I think. So you take 13,900 plus we had to outfit it. So that's why it was the cost of that extra vehicle. That was an unplanned expenditure. It was within my spending authority. I let council already the mayor know about that, but you had to have the vehicle. So anyway, those things happen. So again, their budget, 521, 589. If you have any questions beyond that, I can't answer. I put the chief on the spot, but he is here. So again, I just want to remind folks, we run 24/7 police. It's an expensive endeavor to do that, but the city definitely.
Without that, we have to depend on the sheriff coming up from Clayton.
Yeah, I'm sure y'all.
Response time is slow.
Yeah, at night, they run what, two deputies from the whole county, maybe?
They try to,
Usually one's on 441 and.
on the way.
Yeah. I was, anyway, so yeah, you know, and a lot of people they're really surprised when they find out that we do have 24/7 police. Especially a lot of our new residents, so anyway,
One of the reasons we moved here.
yeah. So again, Their budget's 36%, I think, every year over year, it's in that 33, 34%, so it is a little bit higher, but anyway. Fire, again, if I'm going too fast, let me know, I'll slow down, but, you take the mill this year, I think 106,000, multiply that by 1.5, it come out to 160. 116,000, the mill for this year, 1.5, 174, 778. You know, again, historically, they've gotten 1.5 mills. And, that was their request in this funding cycle, and crunching the numbers, kind of way to make it work, I don't know.
Chief, you guys are having a public meeting to go over your budget. Is that correct? When is that? Or did it already happen?
I don't know if this is the time to broach this. As chief of the department, you know, that's basically a big fancy term for head cook and bottle washer. Agreements were made back before I became a member of the department about the millage rate, not only here in Sky Valley, but in Macon County also. At the time, we just built a nice fancy fire station up there in Staley, and, $1 million, we asked for a slight increase in the millage both here and in Macon County. As of last August, that building was paid off.
Right.
We do not have that tremendous mortgage hanging over us anymore. And I talked to Jason the other day. I talked to Paul Wheeler, the head of our board of directors, and we are trying to make it a little more fair to your taxpayers. The millage rate is great as long as you guys don't do a rollback. I mean, if the city brings in as much or more money, and I don't have a problem with being an increase for us also. However, the millage rate, it's based on the value of the property here, not on your budget. So as the millage rate continues at the same pace and increase in the property values go up, but when you roll back, our percentage of the money we're taking from your budget increases without, you getting a increase on top of it. I talked to our crew, I talked to Paul Wheeler, he knows I'm here, and I'm not setting anything in concrete, I'm not making any hard offers or anything like that. But we are toying with the idea of making this a little more fair to the taxpayers. We don't need that money right now. Now, it may change in the future. We start throwing up motels and all these multi-story buildings and everything, and I've got to come up with $2 million for a ladder truck to keep your fire taxes down, your fire insurance down. We may have to come back and renegotiate. However, what we'd like to do at this point, and this is just, something that, fuel for thought here in the next few meetings and before you finalize your budget, before we finalize our budget comes up in January. We're on a calendar year, much like yourselves. What we'd like to do is do a village rollback last year. So it comes out to 160, just like last year. After looking at what Ron's getting an increase, it's kind of a hard pill for me to swallow because, dang dude, you may not, right? But right now, we cannot, I don't sleep well as fire chief, I don't sleep well. A good fire chief doesn't sleep well. He's always worried about something. Right now, the pit in my stomach is the fact that we're taking advantage of something that was set 15 years ago. I don't particularly like it. A lot of my crew members don't particularly like it. We paid off our building. The rest of the world, our costs are going up too, but not to that extent.
So that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Our budget,
Thank you.
our budget with you has almost doubled in the 7 years I've been a member of the department. You've got the best trained, best prepared fire department in the two counties that we serve. We've got 26 members that are ready to go, just about all the time. Our medical responders are the best equipped that we can offer. The money is there to offer. Short of a long backboard, our EMRs carry just as much as our rescue truck, our EMS truck does. And we pride ourselves in even at 3 o'clock in the morning, having at least 4 people respond. The first ones will be there in 3 minutes. The time you call 911, we'll be there in 3 minutes. No other department offers that. And in order for me to justify this to myself and the crew, I'm putting this out as a challenge to not only the current council, but the oncoming council, new people, however that shakes out. Can take the time, take an hour out of your life and come see what your money's paying for. It's driving us crazy, the fact that nobody knows we're there. Except for the people who call 911 in the middle of the night. We don't exist. Talking to people around this city, a lot of them don't even know they have a fire department. They have a medical response team. It's I can't say it's embarrassing, but it's kind of deflating. The fact that, and I guarantee I can challenge anybody in this room, they have no idea what we do. We really don't. So we'd like to reduce the amount of money that we're taking, but along with that, you gotta meet us halfway and come see what you're getting for that reduction.
Okay, so next steps. Gonna meet with you guys there.
Set a meeting with us, I'll get with Paul, and, I have to answer the board of directors. They're the ones, the money's not mine. They're the ones that control the purse strings, if you would. Paul was a lot more receptive to it than I thought. We talked about this last year and he said, no, absolutely not. The last time I talked to him was, just within the last 24 hours. He was a lot more receptive to this because of the fact that there's nothing in writing, but it was a verbal agreement. And we got the millage rate at 1.5. It was verbal saying, upon completion of our mortgage and our, it's not fair. It really isn't. I mean, if you weren't rolling back the taxes, I wouldn't care. Or we wouldn't, but to roll back to save the taxpayers' money, okay, that becomes unfair for us. Because we treat every call individually, whether it's a shack behind somebody's house is burning, somebody's having a heart attack, or, the lodge is on fire. It's, one call at a time. It doesn't really matter what it's worth.
Just really appreciate it.
Yeah.
You guys do a great job.
Yes,
Yeah. I would like to say one thing. You're saying that people really don't know you're there, and when it comes to paying in fire insurance rates, we know darn well that you've kept those ISO rates.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And
So we appreciate
I get glowing compliments about you all and how your paramedics and your fire people respond. So I think a lot of people do know and appreciate everything you do.
We don't have a big
Yeah.
flashy station. We're not out on the road all the time. I mean, last year, I think we had almost 60 calls in Sky Valley. Okay, but they were answered on time and on target.
It was a good thing you were here when those wildfires were going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, we had good meetings there, and you put us really at ease with your preparedness, so.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I guess the question I would ask of the council would be, obviously, the chief has verbally stated this, he's got a board he has to answer to. I think you said January is y'all's budget. If we park this money here, leave it here, that would be an up to amount, because they bill us quarterly. So what I'm saying is, if there's $174,000 that's set aside, they do their budget in January and they say we need 80,000. I don't know whatever it is, or 120,000 or 160. Whatever they get, it just goes back in the general fund next year.
There needs to be a meeting there.
Yeah, we have to have it pretty quick. We're gonna need that.
Yeah, with a millage rate that's fair.
I know, it's a drop in the bucket, but it's our drop.
Well, it helps.
It helps, yeah.
I mean, if we,
So that this budget can be more accurate.
I mean, if I knew today that if he said 160, I could go, after this meeting, I could go back in the office in 10 minutes, I could run some numbers and I could give you what the new
No, I get that, I think we want to memorialize this in writing
Okay.
for this upcoming year,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so that's probably a conversation with Wheeler and you guys, right?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I can do whatever.
So that's an action step.
Yeah, we could, again, we've got time to tweak that between now and 3 public hearings and. That's good to know.
That's helpful, thank you.
And Steve,
Okay.
I'd like to reiterate that we do an annual independent audit every year, and we are always complimented on our budget and our, how we run the city. We have a fabulous credit rating, and of course, our budget has to be balanced because that is state law, and then our audit goes to the state and they look it over, and we have no findings, which is fabulous. If you could talk a little bit about, Jason, our fund balance, which can be called the nomenclature of the reserve. If you could talk a little bit about that, because that helps us to have a fabulous credit rating.
You know, we don't, I know this question's been asked, we don't have a separate bank
Fund.
account
It's not
for that.
yes.
Talking with our auditor, generally, we've had those conversations. I know that was a question that I asked when I first got here. Then why do we keep that money in the checking account? Well, it is an interest-bearing account, so there is money coming in from that standpoint. The numbers change as money is constantly coming in, coming out, but just kind of give you a snapshot right now. We have probably about $280,000 left to finish out this budget year. It's about 1.2 in that account, so about $900,000 in fund balance.
Okay.
But yeah, we, most of the time, the guideline that GMA, Carl Benson, they recommend is about 3 months of, meaning that we didn't take it a dime. We could operate, we have 3 months of safety, we probably have about 7, 8 months. of safety. So we're double that, and every year we've actually been able to, again, you have to do a balanced budget, as the mayor said, but you can't intentionally make money, but if you wind up taking in more or spending less, that much, so every year we've been able to add to that a little bit.
And we know budgets are dynamic,
And
but we're fine.
every year, and I'll just go ahead and say it, I'm sure we'll have to do a budget amendment, that's not a bad thing, that's not uncommon. But that's required, because again, it's a lot of times it's best guess, you don't know what's gonna happen. Knock on wood, it won't, but, who knows what kind of catastrophic event may happen that throws us out of whack. But anyway, getting back on topic of roads, again, the T-Splosh passed, that's fantastic. That's really been a great thing. The budget has actually kind of come down. When we did the budget this year, we had 9 employees. One of that employee was, but we've had an employee leave who was paid half out of roads, half out of water. When that employee left, we advertised, could not find anybody. We actually have 8.5 employees now. We have a part-time employee, he's paid out of water. So we took the half out of roads. So that's why you see that going down, is because, we've gone from a full-time employee. Health insurance is going down also because we're not paying health insurance for that full-time employee. So that's been some, why you see that go down. Again, the FICA, all those are pretty much formulas that you go by. Workers' comp, those guys working out in roads, that can be dangerous. We're fixing to send some of the guys to go do some flagging training, but anytime you're out there doing work, cars going by, or I've seen some near misses, it's really frustrating. So that's going on. I don't think we've had any claims, but again, insurance is just one of those things that just, it seems like it always goes up and go down. Professional services, technical services, again, if we ever have somebody come in that, needs to do something that we can't do ourselves, for the most part, on the road side, small stuff, as you all recall, we bought that roll of paper about 3 years ago. We can typically do our own, we've saved some money there doing our own pothole patching. But it's only gonna allow so much, and again, Jerry and his guys, they do a great job of trying to bring everything in-house, so we try not to rely too much on outside vendors and things like that. Insurance, other than, again, property casualty, communications, you got, cell phones, internet, et cetera, that they go by, advertising. Occasionally, we run ads in the newspaper to try to find somebody. Gas, about $5,500, again, you gotta trim that out. Small equipment with roads, most of that stuff we've been able to defer to, T-Splosh. But from time to time, there are things that come up that's not an eligible expense in T-Splosh, so we still have a little bit of park a little bit of money there, to fund that. But again, one of the reasons we've been able to really bring the road department budget down is because of T-Splosh. And I'm gonna talk about
Yeah, as we
T-Splosh.
get the state money.
Oh, yeah, also, yes, exactly, LMIG, yeah, the LMIG, we've been very, very fortunate the past few years. We've, now, the LMIG, it's, that's, if anybody knows what that is, that's the local maintenance improvement grant. It's based on the amount of mileage of roads you have in the city. We got right at 31 miles. In fact, it's been going up every year. And I just got the letter. In fact, Cody and I are gonna be working on that here pretty soon, but, the deadline's in February to apply, but that's gonna be, I think, right at 45,000 for this year. It's, my first year is around 35. It goes up about 2,000 every year, so again, that's great. And so that helps offset there. And the last 2 years, the state has done a supplemental LMIG, and I think the past 2 years, like $45,000. And then we've also been very fortunate and very aggressive in going after what's called triple E money, which is, it's an acronym, emergencies, easements. I forget what the other E is, but that is a pot of money that the state puts in that's competitive. You have to show need. We've been very successful with that. We got right at $20,000 this year. As you all know, when we did Evergreen, they gave us $100,000. When we did the Morley Bridge, they gave us $50,000. So it's one of those things, if you don't ask for it, you're not gonna get it, but we don't have a problem asking for it.
That does- Correct me if I'm wrong, that requires us to also put a little money in that.
The LMIG requires a 30% match. The supplemental does not. But we've been able, we can actually provide that match out of T-Splosh, so that's kind of one thing that so we got.
And you also have been very diligent in getting in all those grant requests ahead of time.
Yeah,
With LMIG, they run out, if you don't get it in quick, you don't get it, because they run out of money, so.
we have a very good relationship with the Department, Georgia Department of Transportation. I hound those folks sometimes, but hey, you know, if you don't stay on the radar, you know what happens. But yeah, but anyway, it has gone down. Special events, again, you know, we do a fall fest, we do Independence Day. Technical services, that's that wonderful fireworks show we do
Yeah, it's
every
going
year.
up.
You know, it's probably gonna. I was talking with the guy the other day, just so everybody knows, we're looking at doing Friday, July 3rd. July 3rd this year, because the company that we've been using, they give us a price break because they shoot the Dillard House every year, and that's one of those places, you know, finding a pyro company is not like finding, they're not dime a dozen. Those companies are highly regulated. And, they've been a great vendor for us. We do try to get other prices, but they always seem to be either the best price or they're the ones that can show up for us. But anyway, because they shoot the Dillard House, they do give us a price break. Typically, rental and all of those funds that you see there, that's all of the stuff that goes towards advertising for these events. The Independence Day seems to get bigger and bigger. Fall Fest still does good. I think the attendance down a little bit, I don't know, but again, the Fall Fest is one of the big things we do. The Hay Bale Trail that we do, that's one of those things that's bigger and bigger every year. How much did we pay for those hay bales this year?
Right at, about 75.
Yeah.
Each.
Yeah, so you know, you do the math, those things add up. But that's one of the people love that. So, you know, we budget for those things. Food incentives, you know, things like that. And then, inventory, there are things that we do buy that's associated with that. That typically runs around 31,000 a year, what we've been spending. Again, we've spent about 24,000, but I don't know if we paid for the pay bills yet. I don't think we have. So,
I don't think so.
so that's why you factor that in, that we'll probably wind up spending around 30,000 with us clear for that. Parks, we really don't fund for that. That's kind of handled through Public Works. They, I've got grass, park, do maintenance there. We talked about trying to create a couple of parks, but right now we don't fund for that. Again, that's typically handled through Public Works. We do have some playground equipment there across from the pickleball courts. Yeah. All right, housing development, that is our building inspection, code enforcement. Again, the biggest increase is the salary again. It's just simple math going from 32 hours a week to 40 hours a week. You're adding about 400 something hours per year. His health insurance, $700 a month, 12 months, $800. Applying to those type things, you base that on that. Workers' comp, his job is probably not as dangerous as police, but he does have to do it. He does have to deal with a vicious dog every once in a while. But anyway,
Rattlesnake.
yeah. But anyway, again, and I know that, there's incidental things that go with that, but the large part of that is just, the organic growth that we had when I first got here, with Rob Powers. God bless him, rest his soul. He was working 15, 20 hours a week, and I found right then and there, he didn't really, I said, Bob, that's not cutting the mustard. And he said, well, that's all I want to work. Of course, but anyway, but when he passed, we put the things in, but it's definitely a 40-hour week. I mean, just the amount of, I use the word organic growth. It's like everybody's always putting a new roof on, repairing a deck. Jim does a great job finding folks working without permits. But anyway, that's where that goes to, some travel, et cetera, but, supplies, materials, we added, I think added a little extra money for your vehicle, Jim, I believe.
Not to mention all the new homes that we're
Yeah.
having to permit and watch after too.
How many homes are in the construction right now?
We got 3 right now and one's pending another one.
Yeah, in fact, the house on the side.
Yeah.
So anyway, and we don't really see that slowing down. I mean, people, there's a lot of building lots in the city and.
Just got a call before I came in. Okay.
There will be an increase there, and then the next slide, is the economic development, the insurance that we have there, the $5,000 you see there, that is the contribution that would go to the marketing committee. That's where we park that. The past year or two, the POA, the club, and now the timeshare, I think they have all verbally committed 5,000 each. So everybody's been trying to be on the same level there. That's where that 5,000 goes towards. They will be meeting in December, and they will be having their budget. Historically, their budget gets adopted in January at y'all's organizational meeting. That's, as you all call. So I think Oregon says they plan to have that before y'all in January. And I think this year is 26,000. I'm sure it's gonna probably be somewhere about that. They've been doing a lot of great things, but the inventory for resale, all that stuff you see there, yeah, we went over this year. But if you go up to what we spent about 12,000, but we've actually taken about 15,000 to go up to the revenue side. That's all the shirts and the swag that we have there, the shirts that we sell events. You'd be surprised that really, the people that buy that stuff, it really, I give Sharon's not here, I give her credit for that. She really does a great job of things that really promote Sky Valley, everything from dog bowls to t-shirts to coffee mugs, et cetera. So, again, you tally all that up. It's on the revenue, 1,637,634. Oh, 1,623,733, and then the 14,000 for the capital, it comes to 1,637,634, so it zeroes out. So it is a as proposed, a balanced budget. I know that, there may be some adjustments from, you're talking about meeting with chief, we might be able to tweak that a little bit, might even be able to take the numbers right down a little bit. But, as long as we're not going up in the millage rate, we're good to go. Looks like we may be able to go down a little bit.
All right, any other questions from the council on this section before we move on? Thank you.
I think you've covered it pretty well.
I think we did. All right, let's move on to discussing the proposed budgets for the enterprise fund, which of course is our water and trash, issues,
It's
marketing fund and the
It
T-Plus.
should still be in that same slide.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
That's the same slide that you saw earlier, so that's nothing new there. You can go the next, go down some, I think you should see the. Okay, this, our water fund, this actually runs a little bit behind, so when you say, when you see that we 333,000, that would be up until October. Here we are in November, so there's a little bit of lag time with that. I think in that one slide, we'll finish up, I think around 500-something thousand anyway, so, that's not, the way we bill is always a month lag time there, so again, not to beat that to death, but, tap on fees, a little low this year. We started out strong, we did like 3 from the get-go. We may have one more. Again, some of the indicators we're seeing next year, we think we're gonna probably see a lot of new houses. Again, the tap on fee is $3,000, so that would be, eight tap on for next year. I still think we'll probably finish around 12 for this year, maybe 15. Just depends, talking to Jim, we've got some folks that indicated looking to start building before the year starts. Late fees, that's just that, with people, we don't have a whole lot of folks that are late on the bills, but they do accrue penalties and interest if they're late. The other fees, that's the home serve, and I know that was addressed, previous meeting. The reason the increase is from 24 is that it went up basically $1 a month. The way that works is they bill us, and then we add that to the water bill. So that's how it's a reimbursement kind of thing. So, we make a whopping 15 cents per person. But anyway, the interest revenues, again, there's the money that's in that is an interest bearing account. And, of course, rates have gone down a little bit, but, that's up to October, so we still have for November, December to receive interest rates. I still think we'll probably be somewhere around 32,000, way it comes in. But, we're anticipating 558,000. That's been the challenge we've had the past few years is, this is the account that we can make money. I know we've, and we'll talk some more about that in a minute, but, this has been the fund that, as we've talked about, looking at raising rates, cost of everything's going up, pipe, et cetera, et cetera. But salaries, the increase that you see is the COLAs. Overtime, we've gone a little bit more this year again, but we could be average around 5,000. Water line breaks, fortunately, we've really been very aggressive. That's some of the overages that we've had this year is expenditures we've had to make to address some of these issues we've had. Rebuilding the PRD bits. In fact, I'm pleased to say, I think I told you this last month, we had 15% water loss. This month we're at 20. But still the state, we're doing better. At one time we were like 60%. So anyway, that's important for folks to know. Health insurance, again, that's just the 700 per employee and a quarter of, for the FICA Medicare, that's all factored in, just like all the other departments. Professional services, a certain part of that, not only does the auditor audit of the general fund, but she audits the water fund, so there's a fees for that, technical services, MPE, Rick Barron, what is it, he said mechanical, plumbing, engineering, pumping, yeah. That's who we typically use. Again, the guys, they do a great job of, doing as much as they can in-house, but sometimes we gotta bring in the heavy guns. For something technical, we call on them, for that.
Does that also include the testing? When we have.
We did the testing in-house.
Yeah, we got all that. Rick and them, they mainly do, electrical work.
Yeah.
And they're a real good place where we can go find parts. Of course, they work all over Georgia. They know people, so they're a good lifeline to find parts. You know, even if we just call them to find it, we can put it in. You know, it's a good lifeline.
How much do we have to pay when you go and do your water examination? sampling?
So it takes 3 samples a month and it's $45 per sample. So,
Okay, yeah, I didn't think it was a whole lot.
yeah, it's not a lot to.
Now, we
to
used
do
to pay-
To do the routine
We used
samples.
to pay $1,500 to $2,000 a month because we didn't have a code.
Yeah,
yet.
now
had
we do
Strode
have-
County.
We have a contract with Georgia EPD,
Good.
with their lab. And, as far as the, lead and copper sampling and stuff like that.
And that's part of the technical services.
Right,
that
that's
we
what I
pay.
was getting at.
I think we pay them about 8,000 a year. It's pretty substantial.
Hold on.
but,
But it's a
they-
whole lot
they-
less than the one.
They take care of, whenever a sample is due, they'll send it to us.
Right.
I don't have to call and schedule or call and
Good.
order and say, they take care of all
Good.
that to keep us compliant.
I know we talked about possibly starting a lab in the county, but they were not interested in doing
It
that.
costs a lot of money. Costs a lot of upkeep.
That has been a cost savings for the city by bringing that testing house with the mayor. Anybody that knows what she's talking about when I first got here, I can't think of the guy's name, we were paying. He was anywhere between $1,800 to $2,500 a month for him to come and do our sample for us. Cody is fixing his class 1. I'm gonna brag on him a little bit. So we were able to bring that in-house. There was some savings. The other education training, obviously, he's done some little extra training this year. But historically, that's about where it lands. The other purchase services, that is the server line that they bill us to get that back. Electricity, those pumps, we take electricity to run the pumps, run the wells. And I'm hoping that's gonna go down, since we've really been able to get a grip on a lot of our water laws. What, Cody, how long are those pumps running today now versus where they were running?
We've cut down 75% usage
Wow.
on what we were running.
Is that from the PRB?
No, that's from the actual wells, the actual well pumps themselves.
Okay,
From this time last year to this time now, it's 75% less than what we were paying.
that's fantastic.
And that's important to know, because I'm gonna go somewhere with this here in a minute. Another thing too is, again, we've got some of the highest water rates in Northeast Georgia. I'm just gonna be honest with you. And that's been, even though that's been well discussed, we have done everything we could do to try to cut expenses, improve efficiencies, et cetera. Like, for example, now that we're reducing the amount of pumping, if we can pump at night, we pay less electricity rate versus daytime. So anyway, those things add up over time.
We had a study done through Georgia Rural Water Association, a free study, we're a member of the Georgia Rural Water Association. And the guy come up and I took him around all the well houses and him and Karen got together to look at our, what we pay per month. And then he gave me a suggestion list on what times we could run to save money on electricity. So we've been trying to utilize that as much as possible. You can't follow that 100%, because, stuff happens, you got to pump water. But we're trying our best, especially with our smaller wells, to really try to save money on electricity.
How do you configure the electricity, the power to only run at night?
So Georgia Power, charges more if you run between, I think it's 2 and
Yeah.
7
I understood that.
through the day.
Yeah,
So they
Which
got,
I know-
they got timers.
they have timers, okay,
Oh,
that's what I want.
Okay, that,
So again, I just want, not to beat the death of brag, but as we continue to try to, that's been the biggest challenge, is trying to, again, cut costs, to try to forego, raising rates. I don't know about that in a minute, but again, this is a tight budget, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's lean, I mean, we all know that. $5,000 for a year. You know, that is tax-free money we can make. We had that rate study done. I know that, the thought has been from day one, that would be looked at in January. Now that we know how the council's gonna flesh out, I guess that'd be something that they would look at, but, we know that that's something we're gonna have to do. How much pipe is pretty much double, you know?
it's about $20 a foot.
We've done, you know, back in, 2023, when we amended the fee schedule, we raised all of the choice services, but we did not mess with the rates. Again, we had to do that. So anyway, the 10,856, that is just like we have a capital lease purchase on the police vehicle. That is the F-450 that we bought. That's a 5-year, capital lease, and we will own that asset. And that's pay that one time per year. 11,000 is the debt service. The 2 Jeep loans that we have, one is 0% interest, one is at 3%. And, that is the interest on that loan that we pay for. And again, we're looking at about 553,000 total expenditures to anticipate about 558. And that's tight. Of course, this may be a budget that we may want to look at amending sometime next year. But, by Georgia law, the only budget that you have to set as your fund, but for transparency and accountability, we've always set a water fund budget. And, we are aware that we've had a couple of years that we've lost money by law. We're not supposed to do that, but I'm not blaming anybody, but, you know, this thing was not touched for years. In the past 4 or 5 years, we've really been aggressive about trying to take the bull by the horns, and have had a lot of expenditures anyway.
This is pretty typical of most mountain municipalities, or
Yeah,
going through the same stuff we are.
And we, being a mountain system, and we had this conversation with all of our new residents, maybe that's coming from Atlanta or Florida or someplace like that. With the topography that we have, with the temperature fluctuations that we have, the pressures that we have, that we've been able to finally get under control, it's not like a typical system. So, yeah, again, we've got some great staff and been very proactive. It's tight, we know it's tight, we can't hide that, the numbers don't lie. But, as we trend out, again, I would love for us to one day we're making 5,000 a month. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest, I mean, we need to, but we'll get there. Again, we'll get there.
Any other questions for Jason on this particular part of the budget? Or suggestions? Okay,
Trash, that's another thing too. Right now, I've talked with other municipalities. The break-even point's about $25 a month from talking. We charge $23 a month. So it's lean, it's tight. We know it's tight. Little bit of increase we've seen. We've got new residents, so we've had some new residents come in. We've had some residents that were not paying trash that we found out that are not paying trash. So that's why you see some increases there. Again, I want to credit to the staff and finding things. Again, the increase that you see, the COLA there, and overtime, typically the guys that are funded out of trash, they're typically not the ones that get called in when we have overtime, but they are typically, if something happens where it's all hands on deck, and we'll call them in. But that's one of the reasons why you don't see as much overtime on the trash side. Health insurance, again, we budget $700 per. The other fees, same as the others, based, there's a formula that you go by. Professional services, technical services, that gets audited also, we have to fund that. Repairs and maintenance, the landfill, as you all know, we got the tipping fees waived. We've been having negotiations with Waste Away, we have dumpsters. So we pay for the dumpsters, that, all of those fees now is a dumpster. Every time they need the compactor, was it $500 still? I come once a week, do the math there. But between that and the repairs and maintenance, the trash truck is a 2013. We've had to do some work with that. That's probably gonna be something we're gonna be talking with, in the next year or two, we'll be looking to replace that thing. So, just FYI, again, it's well, the fixture 13 years old, but again, we, had to put new brakes and tires recently. What, yes, for $4,000.
Yeah, fixing
The timber broke last year, that was $3,000 to replace that, so anyway, the point I'm saying is, it takes a lot of money to run these water systems, trash systems. Tight, $72, again, but, again, I think, trying to look at every line item. Again, we're probably gonna be looking at, is it, from my research, $25 break even, we're at 23, that's probably gonna be some conversation when we have with council next year. We've looked at every cost saving measure we can, but, costs go up, et cetera, so, if there's any questions, if there's any questions about the trash, but the T-Slot's budget, we didn't know it was gonna pass. Thank goodness it did. I will say this, Jerry and Jody and I are gonna be getting together. Now that we know it's gonna pass, we talked about some prioritization as far as, resurfacing. We do have some money in T-Splosh now we've held on to. So we will be presenting a budget to the new council in January for them to consider T-Splosh.
T-Splosh represents over $3 million in the next 6 years of revenue for Sky Valley.
In fact, we just got our last disbursement yesterday, $55,000. That should pick up again in April, my understanding. The Splosh money should start coming in, probably next year too.
Yeah.
And that's 595,000
$600,000.
over 5 years. Last year, the Splosh, and of course, that was an extension, not a new Splosh. The T-Splosh was an extension. I want to stress that. But so you will be getting a T-Splosh budget next year. I want to have a conversation with the county to kind of get an idea of what we think we're going to be getting now. But we should get around $3 million. I will say this about T-Splosh, the current T-Splosh that just expired, that was a 5-year or $17 million, whatever came first. We collected that money in less than 3 years, but we had to stop collecting.
We didn't get the 17 million.
No, but our portion was around $2 million. The point of that is that unfortunately the state, when the state said that, once we capped that 17 million or collected it, we had to stop collecting, even though we didn't go the full 5 years. The law's changed now. You can go the full 5 years. So we're anticipating $26 million, but if it collects like this, in fact, we're going the full 5 years, it might be $35 million. Who knows what it's gonna be, so. And we'll still get that right at 12% of that, so. The 3 million is anticipated to be the middle, but I'm hoping that we might see somewhere around 3.5 million when the dust clears. And we've been able to, of the 31 miles of road, I think we've resurfaced so far about 13, so not quite half. So, in fact, we're trying to get Jerry and Cody and I thought we're trying to get a resurfacing plan where 30 miles of road, if we could do 2 miles a year, every 15 years, you got to roll over. So we haven't got there yet, we're getting there. One of the things we've done every year is a capital improvement plan. Again, there was some unknown there. The 13.9 is the known expenditure. Go ahead, please. The 13.9 is, scroll down here, my list. I mean, make it go down where it goes up. I'm sorry. What you see, the 13.9, that is the capital lease on the police car. The 100,000 that you see there, the 50 and 50, that's what we're anticipating getting in splost. Again, we didn't include these splosts at the time when we did this, we didn't know. And just so everybody knows, that $600,000, the way that's been set up, 400,000 towards infrastructure, 100,000 towards vehicles such as police cars or whatever, 50,000 towards buildings, and then 45,000 for like park and rec, maybe another pickleball court, et cetera. So that money that you see there is, we just kind of parked. We know that we'll be able to use those funds for infrastructure. And we're thinking we're probably gonna be seeing about, with it being 600,000 over 5 years, a little over 100,000 a year. So that's where that comes into right there. And then you scroll down a little bit, summer. It shows how we pay for it, zeros itself out. And then the next one, if you'll go down a little bit more, this is the capital, this is the enterprise, the 13,000, that is basically it's between about 13,000, that's the interest on the loans. And then the 10,000 is the capital lease on the F-450. And then, again, that's something that is something that's not binding, but it is a planning tool. And I think now that we know the T-SPOS is passed, once we get a handle on when the SPOS is coming in, I'm sure we'll revisit this and have it updated for council sometime next year. And as I mentioned, T-SPOS will have that in marketing, and I said they'll have their meeting in December. And they'll historically, the council has historically adopted that in January, and that's pretty much it.
Any other questions from the council or comments?
I think you did a good job covering it.
And I think you did great. Thank you, Jim. Well, thank you all for coming to the workshop to hear about the details of this proposed budget for 2026. We hope if you all have questions and concerns, you can either contact Jason and he'll be glad to talk to you about it, or show up at one of the hearings that we have scheduled. All right, at this time, I'm gonna ask for a motion for adjournment from Mr. Allred.
Madam Mayor, thank you for that. I would propose it, having reviewed the budget proposal, we go ahead and adjourn.
Do I have a
I'll
second?
second that.
Thank you, Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are done.